So you sounds like you got started investing in real estate. Is that kind of how you found your way into real estate first?
It was just a suggestion back at the time, 1997-ish, from my boss. I was working at a local computer store, and he's like, "You know what, man? You're paying rent. That's paying someone else's mortgage. You should consider buying a piece of property and paying your own mortgage, and getting the equity in that purchase." So he just kind of planted that seed. He introduced me to the right people. And I was young, I was maybe 20 years old, as a baby in the scope of things, and like thinking to myself, I can't buy a house, that's for adults. But he helped me through the process. Bought just a little condo. It was the cheapest property in town. It was like $43,000. You can't buy nothing. You can't buy a car
And
for that now.
you save a down payment for that, or how did you finance it?
Whatever 100% financing was available at the
Okay.
time, or maybe it was just because it was so cheap. The bank's like, yeah, no problem.
Just take it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, amazing.
Hey guys, welcome to the Realized Gains podcast. We're on episode 71 currently. I'm Stephen Tran. I'm an Oregon and Washington realtor, and I invest in multifamily and short-term rentals.
And I'm your co-host, Jordan Lee, a mortgage lender that's based in Portland, Oregon, licensed in about 9 states, and I invest in single family and a little bit of multifamily.
Yeah, we have one.
But yeah, this super interesting episode. Today we interviewed Nathan Miller, who's actually also an Oregonian based in Southern Oregon, and he built not only an investment portfolio, but he also built a tech company.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. He has a property management platform that apparently does a lot. I mean, like even sending out notices that you don't want to send. It was really great kind of digging into his product, his investment philosophy, and the fact that he has a business that is all Oregonians.
Yeah, I mean, I think he built it out of the need to help himself manage his rental portfolio, and he saw that need for others. And so, it could be useful to you as a small-scale landlord, or if you're a professional landlord, I think he has options for that as well.
Yeah, so if you're interested in basically upgrading your skills as a landlord, check out this episode. Hey guys, welcome to the Realized Gains podcast. I'm Stephen Tran.
And I'm your co-host, Jordan Lee, and we're super excited to have Nathan Miller on the show today. Hey, Nathan, you're also a local Oregonian. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm also located in Oregon. I've lived here my whole life, based in Grants Pass, kind of the opposite side of the state as you guys.
Yeah.
Everyone, funny. Everyone always asks us when I tell them I'm from Oregon, they're like, "Oh, Portland." It's just what everyone thinks of, Oregon. I'm like, no, the exact opposite, the California border side of Oregon. But it's beautiful down here. I love it. Yeah, like I said, been here my whole life, from going through school to my very first job to my first investment property to ultimately what I do now full time is managing and operating Rentec Direct, which is our software company.
Oh, great. How's the smoke down there? Have you been getting much this
This
year?
year's been amazing.
Oh, really? Good.
No, this year's been great. We had a few days where we got a little bit of smoke, but none of those, like a couple years ago, we were getting like the purple air,
Yeah.
where all the meters that say it's purple and it's unhealthy, don't you dare even breathe today, kind of stuff. This this year's been great in comparison to that. Just a few days of smoke.
Fantastic. So you sounds like you got started investing in real estate. Is that kind of how you found your way into real estate first, or how did you get interested? Did you like study business or real estate in school, or how did you kind of find yourself in the field?
It was just a suggestion from back at the time, 1997-ish, from my boss.
Hmm.
And I was working at a local computer store, and he's like, "You know what, man? You're paying rent. That's paying someone else's mortgage. You should consider buying a piece of property and paying your own mortgage, and getting the equity in that purchase." So he just kind of planted that seed. He introduced me to the right people. And I was young, I was maybe 20 years old, as a baby in the scope of things, and like thinking to myself, I can't buy a house, that's for adults. He helped me through the process. Bought a just a little condo. It was the cheapest property in town. If I remember right, it was like $43,000. Unheard of these days, right? And you can't buy nothing. You can't buy a car for
And
that now.
43,000. Did you save a down payment for that, or how did you finance it?
That would have been whatever 100% financing was available at the
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Whether it was a first-time home buyer or something, or maybe it was just because it was so cheap. The bank's like, yeah, no problem.
Just take it. Don't worry about it.
Amazing. And then how did it progress from there? Like, did you hold on to the property, or did you sell it later, or in trade up, or how did you move on from there?
Yeah, that was my very first property investment. A big deal for me at the time. I lived in it for probably 5 or 6 years until I had, made enough money at my job to be able to consider buying something else.
Mhm.
And once I could afford something else, I bought a little bit bigger house. And instead of selling this house, I rented it. So it became a rental for me. And kind of this is one of the beauties of I feel like real estate investing is I lived there for 5 or 6 years. It gained equity. I was
Mhm.
able to pull I bought it for $43,000, but I think I was able to get like $30,000 worth of equity out
Oh,
of
nice.
it at that point. And that helped me buy my next house because that was the down payment on the next house.
Right, right.
So I did that a couple of times, and instead of selling the house that I was living in, I would just turn it into a rental, and that kind of got me started as being a landlord. Let's see. From there, time
Yeah, well,
marches
sorry.
on.
What was the
Yeah.
mindset like, for a lot of people and first time investors, their kind of mindset is like, you take your first home and then you sell it and get the equity and buy another place, right? So
hmm
what kind of drove you or convinced you to, take an equity line or however you did that, maybe it was a cash out refi and use that as a down payment and then rent it out instead of, just swapping or trading.
Yeah, I think around that time, you guys have heard of Robert Kiyosaki?
Yeah. Yeah.
He definitely used to be very famous in real estate investing. May still be, but I think I was reading his books,
Oh,
and
that
his books primed me for hold on to it, rent it, keep it, let it appreciate, for the rest of your life until you don't need it anymore. And that's so much more powerful in the long run if you can pull that off than just selling it and making a profit right now.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so you early on you kind of had that idea that you were gonna do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
do you still have that condo?
No, I right now have almost 30 properties that I've bought, and most of them rented. But that condo was one of only three that I've sold.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, you mentioned you were working at a computer store when you first got started. Can you kind of tell us your career path as you were kind of purchasing properties, and when did you go fully into real estate and then starting your business?
Yeah, let's see. I was working at a computer store just doing repairs. I'd run out to people's houses and do repairs, making just enough money to scrape by on. And
This is like a
uh,
full Geek Squad kind of type job,
kind
right?
of just a private just a private company that
Just
happened
a
to be
small
in
company
downtown
that we
Grants
do.
Pass.
Okay.
But my passion really has always been computers and technology and the internet. And working at that computer store got me working at a local internet service company, which was kind of right adjacent to it,
Mhm.
which was really what I wanted to be doing back at that time, is getting into the internet and such. And basically I just saved everything I could, understanding the power of real estate. Once I got that first property, I just saved and saved until I could get the second property, and it just kind of became a little bit of a mini exciting passion for me to have this side hustle in real estate while I'm still working a full-time job. And that way I know that this is just going to kind of build and build over time. And it truly did, because over the years, 27 properties ultimately we've either purchased and rented or built. We started building some later on. Um, and I think were you asking about what I do in the software business nowadays?
Yeah, basically,
How
like
that
what
how
was
that got there?
your career transition as you were going through this process of purchasing real estate, basically.
Yeah. So when I first started investing, I was working for the internet company,
Mhm.
full-time job, long weeks, like 60-hour weeks. Buying real estate, renting it, and I didn't have enough margin, to hire a property manager at the time. So doing everything myself. I'm whatever maintenance I could do, all the calls, collecting rent, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of through my career with the internet service company and the computer company, I taught myself how to program, and learning the power of programming kind of gave me a paradigm change in my brain that like anything should be simpler, than doing things manually, like I was in, managing my own properties. I was probably doing it as good as you could for a private landlord, keeping really meticulous spreadsheets, always returning calls, after hours, and keeping pretty good track of it. But it was a lot of work still, with even just 4 or 5 properties. So I kind of blended my programming skills and my real estate skills, decided to create a program that would help me manage those properties. That program was small and ugly and very utilitarian at first, but ultimately I made it available online for free for anyone to use. Lots of people started using it, asking for new features and stuff. So it actually ended up becoming we turned it into a company, hired an employee, and that today is what is Rentec Direct, which is our property management software.
Oh, cool. We'll get back to that, the software portion. Curious about, you said you had like 4 or 5 properties when you started trying to figure out a new system for that. At what point I guess a couple of questions. One, when did you stop buying them as primaries and start buying them as rentals instead of primaries? And then 2, at what point were you able to get out of your full-time job and make real estate your full-time?
Yeah, it was. I switched houses, upgraded houses twice, turned those
Okay.
into rentals. So it was pretty short, just the first couple. At
Okay.
that point, I realized, I was happy with where I was living, and I didn't need to be making that change. I didn't want to move again.
Yeah.
So then, when I was buying properties, it was entirely for investment and entirely for rentals.
Mhm.
Never once have purchased one to fix it up and flip it. It's always been to fix it up and rent it. It's always just kind of been the way.
Yep.
The way I forgot the second half of the question there.
Oh, yeah. At what point were you able to kind of get away from your full-time job and make real estate your full-time job?
Yeah, let's see. So I used to work at the internet service company. Worked there, gosh, till probably 20. Gosh, I'm dating myself, I guess, but about 20 years ago. So whatever that is, 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
Um,
is how many properties deep were you at that point? Like,
at that point, probably had less than 10, maybe 8. And I would say real estate with 8 properties wouldn't fully sustain my lifestyle at that point.
okay.
Just the rents alone. If I were flipping houses,
Mhm.
that might generate more like instant income
Yeah.
versus rentals is more of a long-term play. But at the same time, I had created Rentec Direct and started getting Rentec Direct started
I see.
generating revenue also, and I was able to devote entirely to my real estate portfolio and Rentec at that point.
Okay, so the combination was sort of enough to make your bottom line work.
Yeah, yeah, you bet. Yeah, it was really exciting the day when I'm looking at my current income from my full-time 60-hour job, and I kept watching the income from real estate and Rentec grow to a point where it was getting really close, and I was so excited. And the day it crossed over, I'm like, yes, made it. I could stop working here. It still took 3 more years because I was very devoted to that position, and I worked my way out of it slowly. But by the time I was out, it was in a good spot.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember making that jump too, moving away from a solid, steady paycheck, because you never know what's going to happen. Just because your company and your rentals have crossed that threshold doesn't mean you're not going to need to replace a roof at some point, or maybe revenue goes down for whatever reason. So I can understand that because it was tough for me to make that transition.
You bet.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you started out kind of being really hands-on, doing a lot of the work. Would you say you were a handy person to start out with, or is something you kind of built over time?
I would say I grew up learning to be handy. Grew up on a farm. We had the gambit of animals and barns and everything, so kind of had to learn how to fix things. So if it was, I would say, I'd get up to like a medium level of expertise with fixing everything, but never a full expert on anything.
Right, right. So when you had like three or four or five properties, you were still going out and fixing toilets and whatever you need to do. And that's when you decided that you needed to maybe design a system that you could automate it, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted to automate as much as I could. It's kind of been my passion in life is automate everything I can for me at first, and now for all of our customers. And yeah, the toilets clogged. What was the dreaded call that would always happen? It'd be the garbage disposal. Like someone dropped a penny in it,
Oh.
and you go out there and you fish the penny out, and you're like, oh, it's really the tenant's responsibility, but it's such a simple thing, and it definitely got to be a lot once with half a dozen properties or so. I would say it's a little bit too much for one person to manage.
Mhm.
And um and fortunately around that point, I think the margins were good enough and rents had come up enough to where I could finally afford property management. And so eventually I did take the jump and hired a property manager to manage all my properties.
Oh, okay, interesting. And so then your software, is it built to work in conjunction with a property manager or to take the place of a property manager?
Both. So that we have two different versions of our software. We have for the professional landlord, affectionately referred to as Rentec Pro. A landlord can use the software and manage everything, manage all their maintenance, online payments, tenants get an app, all the stuff you would expect for a modern landlord to provide. And that was the first actually version of the software that we created. And so many landlords were using it. And then, like me, a lot of landlords would go over to a property manager and be like, "Hey, I need help. I need help with all the maintenance and stuff like that." And the property manager saw we had so many property managers that saw the landlords using this software that we started getting a bunch of requests from property managers like, "Hey, make us a version. We want to use this too. This is great."
Hmm.
And so we did. That's where we created Rentec PM for property managers, and they do pretty much the exact same thing. Like a landlord can turn their portfolio over to a property manager, and the property manager has all the same tools, with the exception that they also get ownership management, so they can manage on behalf of multiple owners. But otherwise, it's kind of the same tasks between a property manager and a landlord, what they do each month.
And can you kind of tell us what differentiates your product from some other property management software?
Well, yeah, we're based in Oregon.
Oh yeah.
The most important. No, I mean that's actually true. Everybody is based in Oregon. This office I'm in, right downtown Grants Pass, we're right in the historic district of downtown, and so are all of our employees. Every single one of them, all of our customer service, our developers, everybody's here, and I feel like that is our secret sauce to success, because we've been able to maintain absolutely stellar quality of life, not just for our employees, but the best customer service ever for all of our customers. And um, and I think I mean it's we just this year we got the best places to work in Oregon. I think there's 100 best places to work in Oregon award, which was amazing because it feels good to come here, and it's nice to be recognized for that too through the organization. But we're also getting like the American Business Awards Customer Service Awards, which is just like a third party accreditation that says, yeah, you guys are killing it on customer service. And anyways, I hear that a lot when customers have been with us 4 or 5 years, and I talk to them like what is it that you like about Rentec? Why are you still here? And usually it's because they're able to call and talk to the same person, or they know the person they're talking to, and they always get amazing support. So we have an amazing product. It's really cool. Checks all the boxes, does everything you'd want it to, but our support really is what makes us very successful.
Awesome. And would you say like I mean, obviously software can go anywhere. Do you have customers all across the US, or are you doing it very regionally, or how does that work?
Yeah, we're focused. We do have customers, all 50 states. We have a few international customers, but really it's US focused primarily because of our banking system.
Yeah.
It's really easy to transact money from a tenant to a landlord, and then from a landlord to the property owner in the US, whereas that's a little more complicated in other countries. And so the other thing would be tenant screening. It's we can provide really thorough tenant screening to all of our clients in the U.S. But as soon as you get outside of the U.S., the tenant screening world is different world.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean, when you talk about obviously payments, I'm sure there's well, not that I am sure. I mean, I'm a software engineer as well.
Nice.
Um, I'm sure working with different currencies makes everything extremely difficult. Whatever APIs you're connecting to do different currencies would probably be make things a lot harder. Everything in the US would be a lot easier. Like even Canada probably would make it would be difficult.
Yeah, Canada is probably the second easiest, but really it's our ACH network in the US.
Mhm.
Very few tenants want to pay credit card fees to pay their rent, which you can do credit cards internationally, but they're really expensive.
Yeah.
If you go buy a $20 grocery item and you pay a fee for that, that's no big deal. But when you're paying $2,000 for rent and you have a 2 to 3% fee on that, that's too much. But in the US, we've got the ACH network, which for our customers, it's free. They can transact all the ACH payments with their tenants they want. Doesn't cost them anything.
Right. Yeah. And so I do want to kind of hear the journey of you starting this. Obviously, are you self-taught programmer?
Yeah, just I needed to. I'll tell you the tiniest little bit of background since you're a programmer too.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in the sysadmin world, I did lots of shell scripting, and which is kind of the rudimentary. On the server, you make make a script that does a whole bunch of tasks for you.
Yep.
And one day, I needed to be able to connect to a database, and you just can't connect to databases with shell script. It just isn't possible. So I looked for what was the best, most well-supported programming language at the time, and looked at back then it was Perl and PHP, and
Mhm.
PHP was a little bit newer and more web-centric, so I chose PHP. Um, Went and did online classes, online examples, Stack Overflow to the rescue whenever it came about, and taught myself over a couple of years and got fairly proficient at it. And ultimately, back in 2007, wrote the entire first version of Rentec Direct before we hired any additional developers.
Okay. And I mean, how long did you stay on as an actual programmer for the product before you just kind of handed it off to your full engineering team? Are you still very active in terms of building the product?
Yeah, we're 15 years in. I'm still very active. I still write features, review code. It's my favorite thing to do. And as CEO, I probably should be spending my time on higher level things or something. But I really, really love software development. So I force myself. I choose because it's so much fun to be able to stay in that software development role. But we also have a whole room full of developers that produce a lot more code than I do. But it's really fun collaborating with them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna imagine since 2007, obviously there's lots of new frameworks and languages and things. How has your product kind of evolved over the years? I mean, I'm getting in the weeds of this technical stuff because I want to hear it. Like like what new frameworks and technologies are you using to kind of build what you have?
Yeah, it's fun. Probably one of the biggest technology that we adopted wasn't necessarily programming specific, but it was converting all of our physical servers to Amazon,
Mhm.
from the servers that run the web servers to the database servers. I mean, not having to manage that hardware is so nice because we know that there's professionals, taking care of it, and it's backed up 7 ways to Sunday. So been very happy with that. On the programming side, we actually try not to rely too much on frameworks. And that's kind of a philosophy that I've kind of driven because you end up with the update cycle can get kind of complicated. You have to update your server, right? And then you have to update the web server, which is the application that runs on top of the physical server. Then you have to keep PHP updated. And this is all for security, security and features, but security being the most important. And now if we're writing in pure PHP and we've written our own stuff, once we've updated PHP and made sure our code's compatible with it, you're good. That's it. That's the end of the update cycle. Now, if you introduce a framework in there also, well, now you're introducing that update cycle, and talk about getting into the weeds, but you have to sometimes, if PHP is going to be updated, your framework might not support the latest PHP yet, or vice versa. And so you're waiting on that, and just in order to get this absolutely critical security update. So whenever possible, we try to stay away from frameworks.
Oh, no, I totally understand. I mean, there's, let's just say in my world of just all the libraries you can add, and then like you said, you update Node and all these things, and then now it doesn't work with this version, and then it's a whole
Totally.
um words I don't want to say. You know.
Yeah. That said, there's so many PHP and Java script resources out there that are already created, and there's a lot of times where you don't recreate the wheel if it already exists and it works well. So you have to make that decision, many times.
Awesome.
So, as we know in Oregon recently, I mean, not that recently anymore, but there were a lot of law changes in regards to landlord and tenant laws. Did you find that brought in a lot of new clients in your field, or how did that impact you guys, other than having to update your software quite a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, Oregon definitely is at the forefront of creating new laws on landlords, aren't they?
We're
You guys
California.
are
I don't
you're
know.
in Portland. You know about it even more than the rest of Oregon. Our software is made to be very flexible. We designed it kind of like QuickBooks is really flexible. Any company can open up QuickBooks, put their company into it, and run their company. All their finances. Well, any property manager in any state, any city in the country can use Rentec, and regardless what the laws are, we've made it so adaptable to just accommodate everything.
Hmm.
An example of that, which would align with one of Oregon's laws, is flexibility on late fees. Your late fee, it can't be more than a certain amount, and it might be a fixed amount, or it might be a daily amount, and the daily amount might be a fixed amount, or it might be a percentage amount. There's so many options. So we just give our customers all those options so they can comply with the local laws.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
But
sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say, but what I do hear more, rather than does your software support this, is we talk to a lot of our customers, especially our customer service department does. And when a state like Oregon passes a law, the first thing that they do is they call us and gripe about the law. Rent control.
Yep.
I have to put this notice on my website. But they contact us and ask us if we support it. So we get to hear kind of firsthand all the landlords' unfiltered thoughts on these new laws.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, you have clients in 50 different states, 50 different states to worry about the laws, and then there's the counties individually that have these different laws. Do you have
Hmm.
to I mean, I would have to go into the features of how the product works, but are those laws taken into account into building features, or are you just giving people the flexibility to adjust certain toggles here and there so they can be adjusted to each county's rules?
Yeah, we try to provide enough flexibility in the application settings to where it's going to support the widest customer base possible.
Of course.
And because 50 states, there's 22,000 different jurisdictions in the country, and we just can't make 22,000 different versions of the software and it work out. So we do try to keep it really flexible. Sometimes we have to throw up create a new feature to support a law. And an example of one, and I kind of thought it's crazy that we had to do this, and landlords in Colorado have to do this, but they just passed this law. They thought it would be a great idea that you have to have a block of text about this big, about a quarter of your website, conspicuously shown, that talks about Colorado's habitability law, and it has to be on your tenant portal. So instead of tenants logging in with their phone and seeing their rent balance and pay my rent or do a work order, a third of the screen is this notice from Colorado that just talks about their habitability law, and they just said you have to put it up there. So we didn't think something like that. We hadn't thought in advance that some state would pass such a silly law, but since they did, we have plenty of Colorado customers. That's a good example where we created a feature where they can now litter up their homepage with a notice from the state.
And are most of your clients or single family type owners, or is it more kind of the larger apartment and multifamily type owners, or is it a mix?
It's a huge mix, and we started with lots of single families at first because that's really I was designing the software based on kind of me and some
That was
of
your
my
background,
peers as a
really? Yeah.
model,
Mhm.
but then we expanded into larger apartment complexes with a couple hundred units or more, and then we started offering our PM product, which is property managers, and we have property managers that manage startups that might have a couple hundred properties up to some really large ones in the tens of thousands of properties.
Nice. And can you kind of go through the feature set of the product? Like just for like a regular landlord like me who wants to manage their own properties, like what features could I be looking forward to make my job a little bit easier?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
let's say somebody that has, 3 to 4 single family properties type person.
sure. What I like to tell people is if you're using our software because it has everything. It has the everything accounting you might need, everything work order, keeping track of maintenance, and everything related to payments and accepting payments online. So what I like to say to someone who has 3 or 5 properties and they're not using software is the property management company down the street, they are using software and they're offering a tenant portal, an app, online payments. They're offering all these things to their tenants. So if you're not, that's one strike against you already because tenants, they want to open up an app and pay their rent, or ideally just schedule it to be paid every month. If they're having to send you a check and they can go to the property manager down the street and just schedule it online, they might choose that property manager instead of your unit because it's more convenient for them. So our software gives the small landlord who has a handful of properties all that same professional look and all those features that they would have if they signed up at a giant property management or big apartment complex. Gives it all to them. But as far as features go, oh my goodness, there's so many. But the core stuff would be all your accounting for your tenants and your properties, which includes not just rent income, but it also includes all your maintenance, utilities. All those go in there. You put them in just like you would any, QuickBooks or another accounting platform. And then at the end of the year, you print out one report. We call it a Schedule E helper report, and you give that to your accountant, and that's everything he needs for your properties. He doesn't need anything else. You don't have to give him the shoebox of receipts or all everything else. It's just one report. You give it to them, and then online payments is huge. Everybody needs online payments these days, so we do that, and we do it the right way using the ACH system. That gets a lot of landlords out of the accidentally using things like PayPal or Cash App or Zelle. So many landlords are doing that and they don't understand the risks of doing that. So we're able to get them into the ACH network where they have much more guaranteed funding. And work orders, keeping track of everything that needs to be repaired. That's in there too. So those are that's 30,000 foot overview. Those are some of the major features, but
What about,
really,
you say that it does background check too, as
oh,
well
that's a
as,
good point.
yeah, it does screening. And what about, like, like the contract, the lease agreement, that part too?
Yeah, those are all in there. And I'm glad you mentioned that because screening, the most important thing you can do as a private landlord is be very, very diligent on screening. So we've got we've made connections with TransUnion, the best nationwide background check company in America, and evictions, and then we've got a few other reports. You can also order county reports also, but checking on credit, criminal, eviction history for anyone that you're planning on moving into your property is super paramount. We have it built into the system. Everybody gets it. You get instant access to it too. So as soon as you order it, it's right there in front of you. It doesn't have to go out to the tenant and the tenant, approve it or anything. It's once you're qualified and approved as a landlord, you get direct access to that information.
Hmm.
Lost track. What was the other thing you mentioned there?
Oh, like just the lease agreement
Oh
templates
yeah.
type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we integrated a long time ago. We integrated with DocuSign, and then more recently with HelloSign, which is now Dropbox Sign. So we, once you put a tenant into our system, it will connect all the dots as far as the tenant's information, the lease amounts, the property address, everything that would go into a lease agreement. It packages that all into basically a PDF and sends it off to HelloSign, where then everyone can do their signatures and take care of that all online.
Nice, nice. And what about notices that if like you need to send specific notices to follow,
Eviction.
well,
Other
just
things or
late
work what
payment,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you need to bill them for a specific thing. That stuff's all easy to do through the software too, or
You bet, and I'll actually tell you a secret. So A lot of notices can be sent electronically if it's just a communication.
Yeah.
And so we've got all that for email and text messaging communication. All happens right in the app, and the property manager can do it on their desktop, which is easy if you have a desktop, or on their using the mobile app if they're on their phone or a tablet out in the field. But coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we have this cool integration we're doing with a mailing system where you'll be able to create templates in Rentec, and they'll be fillable templates. So you create the template, and then you put, tenant name here, property address here. So say it's a pay or quit notice, and it's the same every single time, with the exception that the property address and the tenant name, change. So you'll be able to just do a quick selector that says everyone who's 7 days late. I want to send this notice out. I want it to get mailed on this date, and I want it to be certified. And we'll actually populate all that information, send it off to a printer. They'll print it, they'll stuff it, they'll put a certified stamp on it if necessary, and they'll mail it. Nice. And you get a lot of benefits of that. The first one, huge time savings, right? Because especially if you have lots of properties, you're not printing, stuffing, licking the envelope, putting a stamp on it, and putting it in the mail. You're just pushing one button, and it does it to all of your tenants simultaneously. And it gives you the tracking information. I'm pretty excited about this because it's coming up really soon, and I've been wanting it for a long time. You're going to get the tracking information, so you'll know when it's delivered. You'll know who signed for it if it was certified. And you'll have third-party confirmation, not just of the delivery, but of what's in it.
Oh, great.
And so I think about this, one of our jobs as a software company for property managers and landlords is we want to protect them. And we're protecting their data, of course, but we want to protect them when they, if they happen to have an eviction and they're going to court. And I've heard of this happening. It hasn't happened to me, thankfully, but I've heard of tenants saying, I didn't get the notice. And property manager, walks up and they're like, nope, here, I took a picture of it and I put it in the mail on this day. It was even certified. Look, the tenant signed for it. And then the tenant's like, yeah, I got an envelope with a blank piece of paper in it. Prove otherwise.
Yeah.
And
proof,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. So, and usually a property manager can't prove that. How do you prove what was actually in the envelope?
I mean, yeah, I'll say this. That sounds like amazing if you can use that in a court of law to kind of prove that you've presented them with, the pay or vacate notice. Because I recently had to go through my first eviction, and I was scared because I know that if you mess up one thing, you don't put it on the door, and then different counties do different things. But like the county that I was in was like, you need to present them directly, and also send it to them first class mail, not even certified. So. But proving that is hard. So the only thing I can think of is like, I'll take a picture, I'll do this. And then I ended up, I'm paying a lawyer to do this because I don't want to mess this up. Because if I don't have that burden of proof, then then I'm kind of screwed. So.
Oh, absolutely. And, Oregon, it better than anyone. If you don't go to court for usually a couple months. And once you get there, if not everything's in the right order, that means you're delayed again for another couple of months at least. And I've seen landlords out 6+ months, with no rent, and here in Oregon, and that's just sad.
Yeah.
So we want to do our job and protect them from that. And I love the third-party verification, not just of delivery, but of content that this is going to provide. So very excited. We're hoping to release it next month.
No, that's exciting. And you mentioned like, yeah, you can't wait to send it to all your tenants. I hope you don't have to send it to all your tenants. No, that's the dream. Because like I said, having to get this out to my tenants was scary. And, like I said, you just don't want to mess up. So,
yeah.
And what is your pricing structure for that, smaller landlord in that 3 to 5 type range, or how do you set that up?
Yeah, we bundle in. We don't have any add-on like charges, with the exception of tenant screening, because that costs us. But we don't charge for payment processing, electronic signatures, text messaging. We don't have any charges at all for that. So, and we do have some setup costs and monthly costs to provide that. So, I think our pricing starts at $45, and that gets you your first. What is that, about 22 units, and then everything after that is $2 a unit.
$45 per month.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's not too bad, actually. Yeah, I would pay for that, especially if I had this service to know to get my notices out, especially automatically, because sometimes I bring a lot of emotion into and I try not to, into me being a landlord and I'm trying to be easy, but if I don't have to think about it and send that vacate to notice automatically, then it could be more of a business. So I think that's a good benefit for a lot
Kind
of
of gives you
people.
the ability to do what property managers do,
Yeah,
the professional ones do. I mean, obviously not as well, but it gives you that the most of the advantages, right?
exactly. Yeah, which I love. So that's exciting. And can
Yeah.
I ask what's next on the horizon after this? Like, do you have bigger plans for Rentec?
I love what we're doing. We've been on a really fun growth trajectory. Um, and we're going to keep that up. We're doing 25 to 30% every single year in growth, and that's really sustainable and I think healthy for our organization because we're not doing those big, sharp increases and then dives like a lot of companies do. So we're definitely going to keep doing that and keep innovating and being the best application for property managers out there. But kind of on the near horizon, we just did a full, like we called it a remodel because we're in the real estate software business, so we called it a remodel of our software. Like 3 years ago, I think we completed it 2 years ago, and we're already on track to start another one because you kind of have to reinvent yourself from a front end graphic user experience perspective about every 4 to 5 years. So we're starting that up for our next round, and that's going to start trickling in over the next year or two. But in the meantime, lots and lots of new features and improvements will be trickled in there.
Awesome. And then just because, obviously I'm sure you have tons of data on, with your customers. How are you seeing where the rental market is at? Are things stagnating or, I mean, are you seeing a lot more evictions? Are you like, how does running your business kind of give you an insight on how the rental market's going?
Yeah, we get a very big, literally a 30,000 foot overview because we're seeing the whole country, and via like aggregated data. And I see right now the rental market softening up from what it has the last 4 or 5 years. It's property managers never even had to place a listing online, 2 years ago. All they had to do is put a stamp, a piece of paper on their front door, and there'd be a line of tenants lining up to rent from them. That's changing, and I'm seeing higher vacancy rates regionally specifically, but also trickling around the U.S. So I think that's probably the biggest trend I see right now, other than more and more tenants adopting online payments. It's when COVID happened and no one wanted to dare touch their neighbor or their friends, online payments like shot up, and I would say as a society, renters, even the older renters that would never touch it in the past, embraced online payments. So it's been growing faster than anything.
Yeah, tell my tenants that, they're still dropping money at the bank. I'm like, I have an online platform, please. Please pay through here so I can keep the accounting so I don't have to write it in manually. But
Totally. It's called Rentec Direct. Just Google it.
Speaking of like vacancies and get managing tenants, is that at all part of your software as well, of like advertising your property?
You bet. Yeah, we actually provide every one of our customers with a free website where they can advertise themselves as a company if they
Oh,
want. So they can have a homepage with all their contact information and what they do, but it also has all their listings. So any vacancies they have, it's just a checkbox in the software. One of the very first AI integrations we ever did was related to vacancies, where they put in all the criteria about their property and just click a button, and it'll go via our ChatGPT integration. It'll write up a listing for them using all their data. So it'll put that on the website. And it'll let them receive applications and even application fees on the website, which then flow into the software.
oh,
They
just all automated, huh? Wow.
totally, as much as can be, because then
And
they can.
that's for the individual user too, or just for the if you're the property manager user, or for both?
It's for both. Everyone gets it. You bet. And then another thing we've been quite successful at, is we're connected to pretty much all the sites like Zillow's and Homes.com and Realtor.com, which they offer rental listings. If you list it in Rentec, it also goes out to all of them and shows up on their websites as well.
Cool.
no, I love that. I'm excited to try it actually. So maybe you can give me a trial period.
You bet. Happy to.
Yeah, well, I mean, sounds like a great product. If people are looking to get in touch with you to kind of learn more about the product, how can they find you?
Yeah, our website, rentecdirect.com. It's RENTEC direct.com. All the information's up there. We actually, good news, we offer a free trial. So
There you go.
you're welcome to check it out. As anyone else who sees this, just click on sign up. We offer a 15-day free trial to everybody, so you can check it out. It's full featured. It's not limited in any way, except you can't receive payments during the trial period. But you can plug all your properties in there and tenants, fake some payments coming in, and then after the 2 weeks, turn it on and start receiving real payments.
Yeah, no, I'd love to check it out. I mean, I'm using another platform which I won't name, but let's just say it's not as fully featured as you described Rentec to be. So I'm excited to check it out. And
There's a lot of platforms out there.
yeah,
Rentec's a great platform. I'm biased. I wrote it. It's great. There's a lot of other platforms. Most of them are quite good. And we don't need everybody. What I always suggest people do is try out the ones, try out anyone that has a free trial, try it out, see which one like fits your style of doing business and which interface, works the best for you or maybe works the best on your device. I mean, I think Rentec is the best, but sometimes other platforms work good for other people. But try them out. And the most important thing is use something. Any of these software platforms out there is going to be better than just trying to hobble 10 solutions together yourself. So
or
I'm glad you're on something.
yeah, no, I've had some friends who have done everything on basically a notepad before. So
Spreadsheet.
Yeah.
spreadsheets are that's a huge step already. So
I've done that, been there.
yeah.
And if you were, if someone was looking to get started in investing and becoming a landlord, like, do you have a particular path that you would recommend or suggestion or for our
Yeah,
listeners out there?
yeah, I think a lot of people have a strong opinion whether you should or shouldn't use a property manager, and I think it is perfectly okay, just like I did. Just get started, do it yourself. If you can't afford a property manager, if the margin isn't there, just do it yourself. That's okay. Don't break any laws or anything. Look up the laws, or at least join like a real estate organization, or a landlord organization to get that advice. But the most important advice is like get started today, not tomorrow, not next year. You can't wait for interest rates to come down, although I heard they just did. Don't wait for it. Don't wait for the prices of homes to come down, because they're probably not. Even if someone says they are, I mean, look, if you 5 years ago, if you said I'm going to wait until this homes are somewhere affordable, now you'd really be in a bind because they've done nothing but go up. So
I
I'd say
wish
just
we
get
had the
started.
prices and rates that we did in 5 years ago, and I wish even more that we did 10 years ago.
Yeah, I would have
Right?
spent a
Yeah.
lot more money. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So yeah, just get started. Just do it now. Find something. Find a fixer upper. If you need to if you're just getting started and you need to put some sweat equity into it, just do it. Go fix it up, and just get going and get that first property under your belt so you understand what it's about. Because once you do the first one, you're gonna do a second, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth one very soon.
Oh yeah.
Love
No,
that.
I always, even if it's a hard one and maybe if it doesn't even cash flow, it's just like going to university. That's how I think of it. It's a learning experience, and
Yeah.
generally you can mostly get your money out.
Well, and if you hold on to it for a while, you probably will. Even rents don't go down. They've historically they only go up. So even if you buy a property and you're just at a dead break even, or even hopefully not losing money, but even if you are, in 5 years you probably won't be, and in 10 years rents are going to be double by then, and you'll be well above water.
Oh yeah.
And last question for you, being where you're at today with your broad experience in different states, different markets, different asset classes, what is your like favorite, or what is the thing that you're looking at right now in terms of investments? Is it fourplexes, twoplexes, single family homes still? What's your go-to?
Yeah, I think so. The last thing I did is we built two. It was actually they were townhomes, but they were fourplex townhomes,
Hmm.
and I think that's a real sweet spot because
All
it's
attached
they're
together.
all attached. Yeah, and
Uh,
it doesn't have to be a townhome. It could be townhomes are just a little easier code wise with the city,
mhm.
but I think that's a really sweet spot. And if I were going to be building or buying something in the near future, that's kind of the direction I think I would look.
There we go.
No, I love that. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really enjoyed this, and I'm actually really excited to check out your product.
Yeah, and we can find you. What's the best way to find you?
Yeah, shoot up to our website, rentecdirect.com, RENTEC direct.com. If you go to the, I think it's the About Us page, you'll find me and most of our other staff up there. So if you ever want to reach out directly, feel free.
Okay, thanks again.
You bet. Nice talking to you guys.